laughter is definitely cheaper than therapy. This podcast will be full of laughter. Scratch that. There definitely will be some tears. But I can assure you that this is a safe space of healing and expression, like an auditory hug. Welcome to the Therapy of Laughter podcast. Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Therapy of Laughter podcast. I'm your host, Eileen, and we're back again with another episode. As you guys can see, I have another one of my friends here, Spence. I call him Spence. That's actually his last name, but Spence, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Stefan. Everybody calls me Spence or Spenzo. Known Eileen for like about 5 years now. We
Yeah.
met at university. It's my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, I am so excited for this episode. As you guys know, we're theming these episodes, these last two episodes, the comical events. So this one is themed the comical events of a Black man. As you know, or he just said that I'm his sister, this is my brother, okay? I would legit get emotional talking about how good Spence has been to me as a brother. He, like, next to my father, he's like right there. Like, I'm so serious. Like, and this is not me over exaggerating. This man is such a good man. And I tell this to Osei, who was on last week. I told Osei, I'm like, Osei, Spence has to get blessed 10,000 more times than he has ever done for us, because, like, bro, just a good upstanding man. Okay, guys, so we're in for a really, really, really good discussion for this week. Yeah, I know Spence for 5 years now. So Spence, what are you studying? Like, what are you doing in school?
I'm studying psychology. I'm concentration in health psychology. Hoping to be a psychologist, psychiatrist, slash psychiatrist. Still depending on what route I'm willing to take right now, but like PhD, getting my doctorate is definitely in the running. So yeah, that's what I'm pursuing right now.
Yeah, what did I
Still,
tell you guys? I'm proud of it, brother. I'm proud I am. Yeah, so this is perfect. And also, not only do I say Spence is a really good, upstanding Black man, period, he is hilarious, guys. I know this is a lot of pressure, but Spence is hilarious. Like,
man, I gotta
that's
live
just
up to the
so
hype
funny.
now.
No, you are so funny, Spence. Like, ugh. Anyways, let's get to it. Okay, so at the Therapy of Laughter podcast, we're starting to do something new, and it's called yeah. So you tell us an event this week that made you laugh. It could be on social media, it could be in your regular life, it could be a past memory that just came up and just made you start laughing. So yeah, wait, pause. Before we get into the laugh of the week, you're also a father. You forgot to add that.
Yeah,
You are a father. Go ahead. Come on.
yeah. So I do have a 13-month-old going on 30 years old. He's a little man that likes to act like he's grown, but yeah. We had him on Christmas of 2019, and
Yeah.
so this last Christmas he turned one. Yeah, and father life has been nice. I've been loving every minute of it. It's funny. It's a lot of ups and downs, but it's mostly like a lot of fun and a lot of like jokes. I get to sit there and laugh at him every day and see how he emanates me and his
Yeah.
mother and stuff like that, right? So that's lovely.
It's been interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So not only are you a Black man, but you're also raising a future Black man. So
Yes,
that adds
yes,
to the
yes.
conversation. So what was your laugh of the week this week?
Ah, okay. Probably something. Something that he did. I can't remember what it was, but there was something that he did that was making me die, making me and his mom die. I can't remember, but there's also a TikTok.
Okay.
Gallus in Paris.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, I I can't repeat it, because like it's supposed to
No,
be PG, but
okay.
it was pretty much just like um Jamaicans taking English words and like into a different context or whatever and kind of making
Yeah.
it funny, and like it was just like a scene where like like Jamaican is like a cashier, like or like
Mm-hmm.
a service, like a customer service person,
Mm-hmm.
and the person comes up and orders something or whatever, and then they say something that's kind of fire, you know.
Yeah.
so, so it
Everybody
was
knows what
super
fire
funny.
means. Hey, good.
Well, yeah. So fire is like this is like I don't even know if I
No,
can,
no, no. They have to look it up. They have to look it up. They have to look it up.
Yeah, you guys gonna have to look it up for yourself if you want to know.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, so my laugh of the week has to do with Jamaican comedy too. So I'm glad you actually said that. So anybody who knows me knows I love watching like comedy stuff and I love watching Jamaican themed comedy. So I
Yeah.
watched this channel called Janelle Comedy and he asks his
Oh
trick
yeah.
questions. He asks his trick
Yeah.
questions
Yeah.
in
I watched him
Jamaica.
too. Hmm.
Yeah, he acts his trick questions in Jamaica. So his latest
Hmm.
episode this week, or I guess
I
came
think
out
I
2 weeks
seen
ago.
it. I
It's,
see
it's
it.
2 weeks
Is
ago,
it
right?
the opening one where
With
the
the
guy's like washing the car?
yo,
Yo.
yo. So basically, the trick question is: first off, pause. Jamaican people are just you.
Too much.
Okay. So he's asking random people in Jamaica trick questions. So he asked this Jamaican guy that was at work, basically, he's washing cars. And he
Mm-hmm.
asked him, he says, what is something that no matter how much time, how much times you wash it, it still smells? the man, the man without even blinking. Sorry,
Immediately too.
immediately. The man said, your body hole. I said, what? He said,
And
your
but that's not even the funniest part. The funniest part is the guy who's hosting, the guy who's like asking the question. He like pauses and like he's like looking around like and like like laughing or whatever, like not saying anything. And it's like I don't know if the guy thought maybe he didn't hear him or whatever, but he wanted to reassert what he said, so he said it louder. He's like, "You want to?"
He's like, your body will. And it's like, he's like, no matter how much times you wash it, it still pink.
Yo, man, she not dying.
Yo,
Oh man.
I, I have like that. That took me off guard. Like,
Yo.
and he was serious. That's the thing that makes me laugh. I feel like when you tell something, not, yeah, what makes a joke more funny is when the person's actually serious. Either that's telling a joke or being real life serious. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he literally said, your body hole. Your body
And was
hole.
being dead
Like,
serious. And he
oh,
didn't think it was a joke.
at all. He said, he's, guys, the real answer is your nose. No matter how much times you clean your nose, wash your nose, it still smells,
No.
right?
Yeah,
This man,
no.
what? He's stinking. He's very stinking. So, yeah, that was definitely my laugh of the week. I have been hysterical over that. Sometimes I just go back and look at it and be like, what? I love his channel. He's taken a break, but he's come back with some new stuff, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
I love like my brother watches it a lot, but like we love watching it because it gets like especially now with that we're not able to like easily go to Jamaica if we want to or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it keeps us in touch with our culture and our people, and it's nice to
Yes.
like see the good part of them or whatever, and like like not hearing negative things and stuff like that. You just see
Yes.
them and you can just laugh and be like, "Yo, I love being Jamaican," like you know.
Yes. Yes. And even like, because I was literally talking, because I had a segment of I'm not Jamaican, my parent is, which was supposed to
Hmm.
go up this month. And I was talking about watching Jamaican comedy to keep me up with my Jamaican culture. And I'm like,
Hmm.
that hits the nail on the head. What you said is like, I
Hmm.
literally just watch it to keep up with the patois to see what's
Yeah.
happening. Like, okay, I want to know what the current thing is. It keeps me in tune. Like
Hmm.
people think it's
Hmm.
a joke, but like it's actually serious. Like to see like how people think or to even hear that like they actually catch on to certain TikToks that we do, like
Hmm.
it's good. It is good. I think if you're a Jamaican or if you're anybody of like a foreign descent, watch the videos that come out of your country. Don't just watch
Yeah.
CNN and think that that's the it to your country. Like watch the videos that come out of it because it's hilarious. Like I've watched
Mm.
Trinidadian ones and they're just as funny. The Trini ones are funny.
You could literally watch like just the basic news, but just like the way that they're talking
Hi.
or whatever is funny. Like, and even like the way like there's this one guy, I can't remember what the name of the
On
show is, but
is
he like
his
interviews
is
Winford Williams.
yo, yo. No, pause. Most of the funniest videos out of Jamaica come out of a news interview.
Yeah.
Like what nobody can cross it.
Yeah. And what's the next one? The lady, she
Rosie,
talks about the water.
Rosie and her family were sleeping, waking up, jump up and see many waters like Elsa.
Many waters, like El Sabi.
Everything.
I wanna me and Danny Scout, me and
Name brand
me and
furniture.
Danny.
Name brand settee.
I don't want my money.
Justice in it. Ah, yeah. Yo, if you're Jamaican, you should be laughing right now, boy. That and yo, she got big money off of that, big money.
Bro,
Yes,
they paid her?
they paid her because she started to do interviews. She started to do radio viewings.
Oh man, they had to pay up then. So, and that was it was definitely a city problem. And like, yo, if you've been to Jamaica and like that's like stuff like that, it happens. Like, because like they'll pay somebody to do something and it's not done up to par. Like, so
Even because there's this one bridge in Jamaica. Well, Lord, we are even talk about Jamaica, but there's this one bridge in Jamaica where if it rains, the bridge is gone. Do you know that bridge?
Yeah, Flatbridge.
Flat Bridge. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, that bridge. And I crossed that bridge when I tell you. Hey, I don't even know how it's still around in 2021. It doesn't make any sense.
I've crossed it so many times where the water was like on it. And I'm like, yo, like, are you sure? Because it could just pick up any time. Because it's a rushing river that runs.
And it's kind of downhill in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, man,
it's between two valleys, so it's like.
And even the valley that you go on is not really a road. It's slight, boy.
You're like right there. The water is rushing, and you're like your wheel is right there. Like
it's too much. Okay, so the comical events of a black man. All right. What did you think manhood would be like when you were a young boy? Like, how did you think like you would be when you became a man? Like, what was something that you're like, like that's what I'll be, and you're daring, or like, nah, it's not it.
Man, like I don't know. Like I didn't really think about what it would be like. I mostly thought about what I wanted it to be like.
Yeah.
I didn't think about like the reality of like how it would be, but I do know that like I definitely thought like I was gonna do the whole school thing and then get professional, date, get married, have kids. Didn't work out like that.
It's okay.
Definitely got like like switched around like the timing of those events in my life.
Yeah.
And everything it kind of happened a lot earlier for me or whatever. But like I'm taking it in strides and like definitely like God's will. When He puts something on you or whatever, He definitely makes sure that you have the strength to carry whatever that thing is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So like I think for me, yeah, like just having certain expectations of how my life was gonna go or how I wanted it to go, and like certain goals that I had in life, and like sometimes they say that if you want God to laugh, you tell him your goals and what you want.
Yo, I never heard that. What?
Yeah, so because God has a plan for us. Or whatever,
right.
When you're sitting there like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to be a millionaire, and God's like, no, I'm gonna make you get homeless,
no, for real.
So that you can uplift my people. You know what I mean?
For sure. No, for real, because like God usually shows you the end result and not how you get there. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Not for real. That I feel like that's something that like everybody has like these expectations of life, and like you get there like, yo, it's not really like that. Or me making big plan to move into an apartment, all this type of stuff. Not one time did I think about rent. I did not
Mm-hmm.
think I would have to be paying somebody $1,000 a month
That's
for
a
a little
fact. Yeah,
bedroom. Like I
that's
did
a
not
fact.
think about that. I'm thinking about big purchases, Louis, Gucci, all them things, but I didn't think about
Mhm.
credit, you know?
Trust me.
So
Credit, like bills, all that stuff just creeps up on you. Just like, wait, hold on, like I gotta pay for this. Like, even though I paid for it, I still gotta pay for it. Like,
what? With
so like
interest. Don't
with
forget.
interest. So like, I bought a car, bought quote Aaron quote unquote, but I still have to pay for it every month with interest. So
Pardon?
I'm gonna end up paying more than what the car is worth later on down the road. What? Plus insurance.
The
Insurance
bargain.
that I probably might not use. Like what?
Ever.
Wild.
Then you get the little CAA or AAA on the side, so if you can't break
Mm-hmm.
down, you don't even use it.
Trust me. Telling you.
Ridiculousness. Okay, so I
Telling you, man.
asked this question in the last podcast to the girls, and I said, "Do you think all Black women are living the same lives?" Now I ask you this
Mm-hmm.
question: Do you think all Black men are living the same life?
Um, I don't think we're living the same lives. Like definitely different culture to culture, and like your environment, where you're born and raised and stuff like that. But there's definitely a lot of things that in the black culture that
Yeah,
are very similar, and like a lot of like similar experiences, especially pertaining to like dealing with other races
yeah,
and racism and just like other life experiences or whatever, and it's like your culture. Like for instance, like something as simple as like seasoning or
mm,
whatever, like across black culture, like that's very much the same. Like we like a
yeah.
lot of seasoning,
A
like
lot of
we
seasoning.
go in terms of how we cook, things that we eat, what we like or whatever, like like it's very much the same
It
or
is.
whatever. So
And if you
yeah,
don't
like
do that, then you're not of the norm. But yeah, I think there's like, for instance, obviously, because I'm not a Black man, but I think that like the way the standard, I know I'm
Mhm,
probably gonna get in trouble for saying this, but like the standard of a Black man, so like to be not toxic in masculinity, but to be
mhm,
strong, to be a protector, to
mhm,
provide and stuff like that. I think that a lot of the same experiences that you guys experience in the world has like molded you to be that way. That's why I said like earlier in
yeah.
the podcast of like you're like next to my father, because there's
Mhm.
so much things that you do that is literally like my dad. Like I don't know
Yeah.
any Black man that's not good at directions. Like every Black man I know is good at directions. If I tell
Yeah.
Spence where I live once, he will be there. Okay. And like, okay, I could break it down to even like more Caribbean men. Like Caribbean men,
Mhm,
every Caribbean man I know is a really good cook. Spence
mhm.
can really cook. Most Black Caribbean men are clean. Like I don't know. I just feel
Mhm.
I wouldn't say they live the same life, but there's just a lot of the standard
Yeah,
is there. That might be
definitely.
controversial, but and we
And
were
just
even
like what you're
yeah.
saying, like, sorry, not to cut you off, but
No, no, no. Go ahead. It's
like,
your show, man.
like that, that like whole thing with like our experiences kind of shape the life that we have or
Yeah.
whatever, or like the personalities that we've grown into. Just like you're
Yeah.
saying, like whatever, like things that are kind of like imposed onto us or whatever, like like that we have to be like the man of our house, we have to protect, we have to take care, we have to provide and all that kind of stuff. Like it makes us like have the similar mentality, and those who can handle it, they get to that point. But those that can't handle it, they get to the same point. So it's like there's like different categories, you know what
It's
I mean?
true. It's
So
true.
certain people fall into those categories and stuff like that. So
Depending on the
I see,
expectation,
like
yeah.
that's how I can say, like in some instances we do have a certain like a similar experience or
Yeah.
whatever, like whether it be like mental or actual like lived experiences, but that's kind of what makes it our life similar, you know?
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I get that. Cause yeah. Because even so, we could tie it back into like you always knowing where you are, no matter
Yeah,
where you are. Wouldn't you
yeah.
think that's like kind of like the fight or flight type of mentality with like the black
Hmm.
man, because they're like quote, like the unofficial quote is that the black men are the most unprotected human in America. I believe it's in the
Hmm.
world, the most unprotected human in the world. So what did you say, like
Hmm.
that's added to your like survival skills or fight or flight, to like always know where you are, always keep your head on the swivel, always feel like
Hmm.
you have to be on guard? Would you think that added to that level of like navigation?
Definitely. Like I'm constantly, if I'm out with my son, my girlfriend, stuff like that. Like when we're on the road, or even I'm just by myself or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm constantly like, if I'm driving and like I'm barely looking at the road. Like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously I'm looking at the road, but I'm
Yeah.
always looking in my rearview mirror.
Yeah.
I'm always checking the side, because like even like a simple traffic stop or whatever, like you don't know what it's gonna turn
Yeah.
into.
It's true.
So like things like that, like I'm always paying attention to how I act, how I make people feel, how
Mm.
people are perceiving me or whatever, how I'm talking to them and stuff like that, who I let get too close, who I keep at distance and stuff like that, right? To make sure that I'm protected and my family's protected as well.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely a lot of those things, like because of like my experience as a black man, or
Mm-hmm.
seeing um other black men's experience and knowing that that could be me, right?
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so
Definitely the
yeah.
knowing that it could be you, for sure. That just it
Hmm.
clicks because you see somebody that looks right like you on the screen that was, didn't have a good experience. But we
Hmm.
pray that will never happen in Jesus'
I
name.
know. Yes, you do.
So what's the funniest experience you've ever had simply because you're a black man?
um, Definitely university. Like just dealing with like,
Yo, I'm so glad you
uh,
touched on that. Yes, man.
uh, like yo, when I first got into university, I was like, 'cause this is my first time. I grew up in an area where like black people were a majority, Indian people were a majority or whatever. So like we didn't, like white people, I didn't have to deal with like a lot of white people and like see the way that they treated me and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like it was only when I went to certain like professional spaces and I was like around white people, or like my teachers were white, stuff like that. That's the only time where I had to deal with them and talk
Right.
and deal with racism and stuff like that, right? So when I came to university now in a new city where it's like in a predominantly white space and stuff like that, it was like, man, like, and you have to laugh at it,
You have to.
like to stay sane, to like, like some stuff you're just like, it's not that big of a deal, like you just gotta laugh at
So
it.
what's something
And
that
like,
really stood out to you that we're like, bro, I'll
oh, like
never forget this?
once to like going to like parties or stuff like that, like like guys that just didn't know, like white guys that didn't know me or whatever, just coming up to me and being like, hey bro, and like like all of a sudden like starting to speak to me a certain way, like,
Hi.
yo, what's up, man, like, yo, like, yo,
Wagwan.
you, like saying, oh, yo, you're, and like even guys that did know me but they didn't know me that well, they're like, they would be talking about me like, yo, this is my boy Spence, he's so cool, like, like this is my boy, like, like they're not saying like, yo, this is my black friend, like,
Yes.
so yeah, he's cool or whatever, but they're saying like all of a sudden like they're talking about me like as like in a way that they would never talk about even their best friend, like, or like they would just like us, like girls would come up to me and be like, oh, like what sport do you play, and I'd
Mm,
be like I play football, but I'm not playing football right now or
hmm.
whatever. Like, like I didn't come like to
To play.
Carlton to play. Like,
What?
like I might play, but I didn't come to play. Right.
Yeah.
So like, and they would be like, oh, okay. And I would be like, yeah, yeah, I actually came like on an academic scholarship. And they'd be like, what? For real? And it's like, I'm like, yo, the audacity of some of these people to like
Yes.
literally actually show that they're shocked to me.
The
And I'm like,
audacity. No, for
I'm
real.
like, yo,
Can't
like
quote it.
if you're shocked, I like, like I can I like I don't understand, but I know that where it's coming from,
Yeah.
like the way you're raised and whatnot. But at least the way you're raised should also teach you that if you're showing some sort of emotion that could be offensive, or like you're saying something that could be offensive, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, don't say it or like don't
Yeah.
show it. Like,
Yeah.
like if you're gonna go and talk about people or whatever, at least have the decency to say it like, behind closed doors. But these people would be like, what? No. In front of me. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
You're
what?
right. It's no, you had the right word. The audacity to think that I can't
Mhm.
sit at the same table as you is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, no,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that tops it. And I think also, like, we kind of talked about it in the last podcast, but like black people being treated as a novelty in university.
Mhm.
Um, I definitely saw this, and we always have this conversation with Sense. Definitely saw like
Mhm.
how white men and white women would treat like black men in university. First off,
Mhm.
there was a decent amount of black men in our university. Let's be
Mhm.
mindful. Even though we went to a predominantly white school, there was
Yeah.
a decent amount. The way that they would treat them as if, I don't know, a genie in a bottle. Like if they rub them the right way, then all their wishes can come true. Like yeah. Yeah. I can't even get into too much explicits, but like,
Yeah.
yo.
It's true. So,
Yo, if you go I as a black student in a predominantly white school, you guys know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's just white
Mhm.
people just moving as though like they have to cross their T's and dot their I's with us. So that means
Yeah.
like, okay, I have to be extremely nice to him so he won't beat me up, or I have to be extremely
Mhm.
nice to him so if he ever becomes successful and if he ever gets into the NFL, then maybe I could be his baby moms, or
Mhm.
maybe I can be alongside him, be his girlfriend. Maybe I can be there when Panda game, our big rivalry football game.
Mhm.
Maybe I can be there to take some rotted pictures. Nobody
Pictures on the football field.
maybe it could be there like, oh, babe, da, da, da. Maybe I could be, oh, that's my boy. Like I think that is a funny experience because it encompasses everything. Because you can't even get into the specifics. Because when white people get drunk, they say
Mhm.
some things that you just be like, yeah, what?
Wow, you say that.
And
That's a fact.
I think the funniest thing I ever seen was when they start speaking patois as soon as they hear
Mhm.
that you're Jamaican. Like
Yeah.
patois and the patois mash up. Like wagwan. Like what?
Wagwan, man. Hey, man. did
I've been to
did I do it
Jamaica.
right this? Oh man, I went to Jamaica and for like like wagwan, giving me a joint and stuff. Wow.
The ganja, the ganja.
the the ganja, man, the ganja. You know the ganja?
Listen,
Yo,
yo, universe is an experience, man.
I'm
Okay.
telling you,
Also,
man.
we talked about like in the last podcast, we talked about like people touching your hair. Obviously, we talked about code
Hmm.
switching, but like people touching your hair or like haircut disasters. Like, how was it like going from being in Brampton, Toronto area to go to Ottawa? Well, it's still like predominant. It has black people there, but like, how was that transition for you, like culturally and stuff like that? Like, did you have some hair mess ups? Did people try to touch your
Yeah,
hair? Did people comment on it? Like, what was it about?
people were definitely commenting on it, like touching my hair. A lot of white girls touching my hair, saying, "Oh, it's so soft." I'm like, "Thank you." or times where like they would I'd have my hair braided. I used to have my hair braided a lot,
Yes.
and like they would always like look at it and be like, "Whoa, how did they do that?" Or like like that's so cool. I wish I could. I wish my hair could do that and stuff like that. And I'd be like, well, yeah, like would you trade faces with me? No,
No,
but
you wouldn't.
but you would like,
Everybody
or you
wants to
like
be
my.
black until it's time to be black.
Mm,
But yeah.
fact. It's a fact. I'm telling you.
Um.
But
ho- yeah. Go ahead.
nah, like that's pretty much like that switching. But I think what made it uh bearable for me was finding people like you, people like
Yay.
Ose, my girlfriend, stuff like that. People who were not only black but also from where I was from, so they understood my culture like a lot, right? So it's like they understand Jamaican culture, they understand Toronto culture, and they
Yeah.
understand black culture
Yeah.
or whatever. Like that was a big deal, like so
Yeah.
like feeling like that kept a lot of us from going absolutely crazy because we're like, bro,
Insane.
like like this is odd, like outrageous, and it's like, mind you, some of like the white people, they couldn't even handle it themselves. Like they would drop out or whatever. But for a lot of them, like it was like this environment is an environment that they grew up in, like their whole lives, or
Mm-hmm.
like their parents were like professors, or their parents went to
Mm-hmm.
university, so they got like a rundown of how it's gonna be. But like
Mm-hmm.
my mom never went to university. My dad barely even finished high school or whatever. Like, so I had no idea. Like, my brother went to university. Like, all my brothers went to university before me, but like some of them were in university at the time or whatever. They were so busy they couldn't even really talk to me, and like,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't want to scare me either to like to let me know, yo,
What is it?
some of the shit that's waiting for you.
Yeah. No, for
Like some of the
real.
stuff that's waiting for you over there. Like, yeah, man, you gotta make sure your boots are tied up,
Strapped.
strapped here.
Strapped. Because like there's so much things that you can't even describe to a person that's
Mm-hmm.
coming into university. You can't really tell them. Like you
Yeah.
can't I can't tell them how it feels to walk into a cafeteria and see none of the food that you want to eat, or some of the
Yeah.
none of the food that you feel is good comfort food for you. You just bodied an exam. You just got beat up
Mm-hmm.
by two professors marking your paper all which kind
Mm-hmm.
of way. You can't even go get some chicken soup or fried dumpling to ease the
Mm-hmm.
pain. You're over here
Yeah.
eating cucumbers and balsamic vinegar. Like there you cannot can't put it into words, that feeling. Like, no.
The worst part about that is, it's like even when you do go in and they say, "Oh, barbecue chicken," you're like, "Barbecue chicken? I like barbecue chicken," and you go in and it's like, this is a
Is
different type of fowl. this, this is this is not this is not barbecue chicken. Still, they could have at least gotten some Diana sauce and threw that on there. This is Walmart chicken.
what? Not even. Not even. No. The way that they disrespect that chicken, they just said, boom, barbecue sauce, no seasoning,
Barbecue sauce, nothing. And I'm
no
talking like,
cooking.
bro, no skin, no like, bro. They boiled that chicken and put barbecue sauce on it and said, "Yo, this is barbecue
This is
chicken."
good. To the point where one time they were giving us for like almost 4 weeks hot dogs
Yeah,
and hamburgers.
burnt ears because people were complaining.
not not hot dogs and hamburgers on a nice, grill,
No,
barbecue. They're
no,
giving it to us boiled, broiled,
yeah, yeah,
whatever the heck. And
yeah.
then I remember one of our friends, Keys, she actually filed a formal complaint.
Mm-hmm.
And they switched it up. But nah, like you can't describe that. You can't describe like there's just certain things like fending for yourself or finding your own black community or finding good friends. And just
Mm-hmm.
because, and I think we didn't even touch on it too much, but just because you're black doesn't necessarily mean you identify with that person's
Mm-hmm.
experiences. So like
Yep.
even shifting out different type of black people that you're like, am I really, is that really
Mm-hmm.
my crew? Is that really not my crew? And also dealing with
Hundred
people
percent.
who wanted to forget their blackness when they came to school. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I thought we
Mm-hmm.
were cool, but when we get in the classroom, you trying to compete against me. You trying to act like
Mm.
you the intellectual. Like
Yeah.
we all intellectual. Like I
Yeah.
don't get it. Like we fighting for the same seat when there's many seats at the table. So there's so many experiences that you really can't bottle up into one and tell them. That's why I said I'm just sending my kids to school and let them go to school, and then their first semester they come home and tell me how it is.
Yep.
I'll definitely be more of a support though. I think that's what we needed, more support. But thank God we had each other.
That's a fact. And it's like, I'm glad you touched on that. Like, not every black person that I met was truly black. Like,
Down with the cause, okay?
they were like black skin. They were coconut still. Like, I'm telling you,
No,
through and
get
through.
out of here. No, no, no.
Yo,
Every black experience is relevant, but no, some people are really moving sick in there. Like,
yeah. And like that's why I said, like, when I had to find people who were not just black but like also from Toronto, so like I know that they have like certain experiences or whatever. Like, they grew up like they with certain struggles at being a black person or whatever, so they'll understand my struggle as being a black person or whatever. And like, like a perfect example is like a lot of our school had a lot of Africans that came from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming from a country,
Mm-hmm.
and these are not people. Like the tuition is like double for them or
Mm-hmm.
triple sometimes.
Yeah, like
So these are
$35,000
not people that will eat a year.
a year. A year,
Like
tuition only, mind you, tuition
that.
only.
That doesn't. We're not talking about their nice
Room
car
and
and
board.
their condo and everything that
Yeah.
they own. Nah. Like, so these are like your top of the line Africans, and like, so they're coming from a place where everybody is black around them, so they're not really experiencing racism, and they're coming from a place of like privilege and money wherever they
Right.
come from or whatever. So like, not only do they don't experience no class system or whatever, like, they don't experience racism and all that kind of stuff. So when they come over,
Or
it's
they
like
didn't
it's not
experience it.
they see themselves as in that same position as the white person here
Yeah.
or whatever, even if the white person doesn't see them there.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you're like talking with them and you're like talking, you might bring up something like racism or whatever, they don't understand where you're coming from or
Or they
whatever. Like
don't,
they're blind to it.
yeah, or they didn't want to understand. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just I found that I think that was the culture shock for me because I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a predominantly white area, not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in a predominantly white area. I was, yeah. So being around white people did not scare me, did not shift
Mm-hmm.
me at all. I think the
Mm-hmm.
big culture shock that happened was getting around other black people who didn't who hmm, I'm trying to say this in the best political way that I can, but they just weren't down with the cause. I guess that's all I can say. Like they weren't down with the cause. Like I've met a lot of rude black people that just weren't trying to
Mm-hmm.
help each other out, and there wasn't a lot of us in there in the first
Yeah.
place. So I don't
Yeah.
understand, like, why can't you be nice? Like, why can't you be courteous? Why can't you say hello? you know
Mm-hmm.
Hello, even that, like, we're the only black people on this floor and you don't even want to say hello to me because you feel like you're above me. Are you
Yeah.
crazy? Don't even start, because I know I pay tuition same way as you. And yeah, yeah, so I think that was the biggest culture shock for me. Like, what? Not that in itself just gets me irritated thinking about it, because it's just like, bro, like, you can't say, oh, I've never experienced racism before. It's something that I've never had to encounter wherever I am. But now that you are here, get used to this reality. This is what's happening right now. And to be very honest with you, racism is trying really hard to survive. Like that, we've been trying to kill it for a long time, and it's really still out and about. So you
True.
can't just
True.
say you can't. I'm not gonna. I don't know what that is. You better know what that
It's not
is.
going nowhere.
You better know what that is. Like, you, why do you think we don't even have our own names? Like, what? Our
Yeah.
parents tried our hard. My nah, my mom didn't like do like no ethic name to like not get me a job, but she was very intentional about how she named me. She's like, I want somebody to look at her name and like, you know, be passing, whatever that means. But whatever that means. Okay, so we talked a lot about like where we're from and like the community. So growing up and being in a predominantly black area or a multicultural area, how did you decide to go with the positive route of life compared to the negative route of life? Because for females, to be very honest with you, it's a lot easier for us to kind of decide which route we want to go. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in the world is really run by men. So like, if you are quote unquote a hoe, or if you don't do school, it's like deemed as negative. So you're kind of pushed by the world and pushed by society to do the school route, to not be sexually liberated or whatever that means. Like you're you know but with men it's a different thing. Like, you guys actually have to decide. There has to come to a point where you're like, where what do I do? So how did you make that
Yeah.
decision?
I feel like the decision was made for me.
As a black man,
Probably,
sorry, I just wanted to add that part.
yeah. As a black man, like definitely it's tough. Like, like like no matter what you do, even if you choose a positive route or a semi-positive route, that whole negative route is like the easier thing to do. So it's always looming over you. So
Yeah.
every time, like for instance, like I could be in university and like like I could have failed a class and I'm sitting there like, man, like I could have been slanging rock.
No, for real.
I, I could like I was like, yo, I'm broke as hell. Like, rent
Yeah.
tuition's paid, rent paid, like everything that I gotta pay for, I bought groceries and all that stuff. I'm
Could have
stressing.
been a scammer.
And I hop on my phone and I'm looking at Snapchat and I'm looking at dudes in the hood and they popping off like 50 bands,
Yeah.
brand new ice, they're driving in a nice car and whatnot. And I'm like, damn, bro, like I was just on the block with that dude. Like,
What?
look at him. That
Like,
looks nice. That looks
very
nice.
nice.
That right there. That looks nice. I'll
Very
take
nice.
that.
No, for real. And I'm working for it, bro. Like, that's the thing. I'm doing
But
legal things.
exactly, bro. It's like for me, but like to get to that point where I was like, yo, I gotta go the positive route. Like it was definitely chosen for me because,
Hmm.
like I said, that negative route was always looming over you. Like
Right.
like people are always like, yo, just come hang with the boys, come do this. Like let's smoke a blunt, let's do this. Like and so that was something that was like always on my mind. So in high school, I did go that negative route,
Hmm.
and needless to say, like I ended up in a bad place. For most kids, like when you're young or whatever, like you don't get like those like negative like drawbacks of
Yeah.
like being in that lifestyle or
Yeah.
whatever because you're young. You get a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Nobody's really like bothering you. You don't have no crazy beef stuff like that. But I was getting all that stuff as a young as a young man
Hmm.
or whatever. So like I remember sitting in like a jail cell and
Hmm.
being like, yo, this isn't the life for me. Like,
Yeah.
like like it's be like this, like,
Yeah.
and lucky enough, like everything was kind of like cleared for me, like, so it's like it wasn't hard for me to make that transition. Like once I decided, like, yo, this isn't for me, and I'm lucky that I got to know that it wasn't for me then, and
Hmm.
like, to like then later on down the road where I'm like sitting in jail for a long period of time and I got a
Yeah.
hospital or like, somebody come and shoot me or something like
Yeah.
that. Right. So it's like, when I decided to make that transition, like it was easy for me the road was clear. I didn't
Hmm.
have things that were like looming in the back of my head, like, yo, like this like stuff that I did back then is coming to haunt me or
Yeah.
whatever. Or like, like I was able to like be like, yo, this is what I want and stay focused. So when I see things like like I'm struggling in school and I go on my phone and I look
Mhm.
and I'm like, yo,
Could have made
you
that
guys are
decision.
having a lot of fun or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? But I may definitely made the right decision because I know that there's other dudes that I know that were living that same life with the dude that I'm watching on Snapchat, and I'm not watching him on Snapchat because he's in jail, he's dead or
Hmm.
whatever. So I'm good. I'm good on this.
Life, long life shall I live. Come on
I'm
now.
telling
No,
you.
like it I just I think we don't give black men enough space to talk about the challenges of that, the fork in the road in a way. Because Loki, you did pick one fork, and then you're like, nah, this is actually not. Let me you turn out of here. So like we don't give enough spaces to that because a lot of times we do see black joy and we see black men striving and stuff like that, but there's so much things behind everything that makes you who you are. So like the expense that I was experiencing in university was a joyful Spence, a happy Spence, a protecting Spence, while as he had to make a decision so much earlier to make him experience and enjoy the comical events of his life. And I
Yep.
think that we actually need to like touch on that more in a society of like, yo, the hard parts of life that may make me enjoy the good parts. So we already talked about this earlier, but like creating black community and white spaces, like how else were you more effective doing that? Like, was there a system that you came into place? I prayed before I came. I was like, yo, God, send me some good people. Like, what was your system? Like, how did you test people? Like, yeah, that's it, or that's not it.
Like um I feel like I was definitely opening to like creating relationships everywhere,
Yes,
like
yes, yes.
with everybody or whatever to kind of like long term feel like. So I had, man, like I knew a lot of people on
Yes, he
campus.
did.
Yeah, like man, like I couldn't hang out with like nobody with like out seeing like other people and like people saying, I
What?
seen you
Spence
here
was
and
the
there.
mayor. He was the mayor,
Yo,
town mayor.
man,
That man, what? He sat at three
like
different tables in the calf. What?
yo, yo, like man, like it was crazy, but like I'm glad because I got like to hang with like a lot of different black people, a lot of different white people,
Mm-hmm.
Arabs, Somalis,
Yeah.
everybody. So it's like man, like I got that experience where I could take a little bit from here, take a little bit from there, take a
Mm-hmm.
little bit from here, and leave a little bit in those spaces as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
To feel like I'm kind of like spreading that joy, spreading that love or
Yeah.
whatever, and teaching people like
Yeah.
stuff about me and my culture and whatnot
Yeah.
or whatever. So like it was hard to some people I didn't realize like you're asking I didn't realize who needed to be there and who didn't. Because
Yeah.
like a lot of people I did realize early on, some people I didn't,
Yeah.
and I definitely took some hurt for that
Yeah.
or whatever. But it's definitely a part of the process, and
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that everything that I go through that is
Mm-hmm.
negative and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like I can teach now that I have a son,
Mm-hmm.
I can teach him, like you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean, like because for like my parents or whatever, our parents they didn't for most like Caribbeans or like people whose parents didn't
Mm-hmm.
grow up here, they don't understand. Like like so like my mom can't tell me what my Canadian experience is gonna be like. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But I can tell my son what his Canadian experience is
Mm-hmm.
gonna be like, or like a good close enough because
Yeah.
obviously like generations change and stuff like that.
Culture
But
changes.
like I
Yeah.
can tell her, I can keep up to the time and like understand what his generation might be going through
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I can understand certain things and I can teach him. This is what you want to do, this is what you don't want to do, or whatever. And at the same time, it's still up to him to make those
This
mistakes
decision. Yeah.
and those decisions, like like if he wants it. And I'm hoping that it's good sometimes for him not to listen to me or whatever, and
Yeah.
like to just feel it out and stuff like that. Because like like that happened to me. Like there was some stuff that I was warned about, and I didn't listen, and like I had to go through
Mhm.
it to understand the importance of not going through it.
Yo,
Like,
for real. For real. And I love how you touched on like expanding your demographic of friends because
Mhm,
look what I have taken from what you're saying is that any space that you occupy is a black
mhm,
space. So
mhm,
you've kind of created your own space because you're a black
mhm,
man. So you've made your spaces comfortable regardless of color. And I think
mhm,
that's very essential because a lot of times like coming from a predominantly black area, you could easily be like, nah, I'm gonna stick to the people that look like me, you know.
exactly.
But the networking skills is so 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 essential, and I think that that's kind of, but that's a part of your personality because I can't
Yeah.
be like that's a black thing to do. Nah, like Spence,
No.
this is how Spence is. Like if you
Yeah.
need something, you need to know somebody. That's how he is. So I definitely know like your personality has helped you have that understanding because for instance, like Yaz was not trying to come in there and meet other people because she grew up in a predominantly white area. So she's like,
Mhm.
I'm trying to get some black friends, you know? Like I'm trying to get down with the cause. Like for me, I don't think it was like in my mind to get black friends, but
Mhm,
I definitely came in there wanting to be friends with everybody for sure. Um,
mhm,
but yeah, it's just interesting to hear like how because we're friends, we know each other for 5 years, but like how you went in there, just like, okay, I want to leave a little bit of me here. And I love that. I
yeah.
really do love that. Like
Mhm,
opening people to your culture and like changing the stereotype and the statistic of like how they would think
definitely.
about me. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
I had a lot of a lot of crazy, like deep conversations with a lot of people, like white and other colors, just like about like the black experience and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that every day. Like, I got a lot of friends who are like on all different parts of the spectrum or
Yeah.
whatever in terms of racism or ignorance and stuff like that. And like I don't shun them away because if I shun them away then I lose that
That
I don't
opportunity.
that
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for, to let them know, like,
Mm-hmm.
this how it be. Like,
Yes.
this is the education. Like, this is really what it is.
Yeah,
Like,
this is what it's
what you're
happening. Yeah.
missing out on. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So yeah, so I felt like it was important because I understood from a very early point that a lot of people were ignorant to my culture and were ignorant to my experience, and like the negative roles that they play in that space. So I
Yeah.
felt like it was I had a duty,
Had a duty. You had to fight the cause. Okay,
Mhm,
or fight for the cause. So,
yeah.
finding your place in this world, what does that look like to you as a black man?
Mhm,
How do you envision yourself impacting the world as a black man? Yeah. I mean, a black man is not your only, that's not the limit to who you are, but specifically for
mhm.
Black History Month, just like how are you going to mobilize your impact, or how do you find your place in this like ever-changing world?
Um, I guess like presence, and presence like through many different things. Like you can
Mhm.
be somewhere and not like physically be there.
Mhm.
So like I said, like developing those relationships or whatever to like leave a piece of me with them or
Mhm.
whatever, so that like the next time, hopefully, like the next time one of their
Right.
friends is saying something out of line crazy about black people or about any other culture or whatever that's like ignorant, that they can check them. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's like the way that I'm gonna raise my kids or whatever is to be like that, to be
Mhm.
that person that speaks out, leave their mark on the world and whatnot, and like me being able to leave my mark on the world. But I gotta get to a specific place in life. Like I'm doing things along the way, but I feel like I got to get to a specific place in my life that have that voice, that I can reach a lot of people. And yeah, like so as a like you said, like black me being a black man is not everything in what I am, but it is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
Like like it's like in terms of my experience, like like as a human or whatever, like that's the thing that like really looms on me like every day, like anywhere that I go or whatever. Like, that's the first thing that people notice,
Yeah.
and I'm a big guy. So like, they're like,
Yeah.
big black guy coming in or whatever, like so. um yeah, just that experience or whatever, like I definitely feel like there's a need or whatever, and like I know a lot of other black men feel it or whatever, and like it's up to them whether or not they want to act on it, or like they just want to play it safe or whatever, because putting yourself out there to be somebody who's trying to make a change is very tiring.
Hard. Yeah.
Yo, it is hard, So I can understand why some people are like, yo, I just want to focus on my life, my happiness, and like my little circle or whatever, and that's it or whatever. But for me, like, I don't know if that if I could be happy knowing that I didn't do that. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I didn't put myself out there to make that change. Yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of programs that I gotta start, a lot of things
Mhm.
that I gotta be a part of, like a lot of mentoring that I gotta do, because I
Mhm.
had some great mentors,
Mhm.
people who I consider mentors, even though like that's not the actual role that they played for me. Like they just kind
Mhm.
of like taught me things or
Mhm.
whatever, and that's why one of the reasons why I want to get into psychology,
Mhm.
to teach people things, and to really study how people think,
Mhm.
and how I can impact it in the greatest way with that knowledge. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah.
Okay, so lesson. I told you guys I'm very proud of him. So, yeah, definitely. And you know what? Even those who don't feel as though they can impact on a communal scale, even you impacting your small spaces,
Yeah.
still adds to the change and to the growth of society, and getting on and becoming a society, or changing a society, or forming into a society that has more equity and equality for everyone. Sometimes you
Hmm.
don't need equality, you need equity, and sometimes you don't need equity, you need equality. So um I think that's so necessary for you to even like give back, because it's kind of like reciprocity. Like, okay, I was given this, so I'm just gonna give it back, and I'm pretty sure tons and tons and thousands of people will so appreciative of all those initiatives and all those programs. So that kind of segues us into the end of our podcast. So, is there
Hmm.
anything that you want everybody to look out for? Programs, initiatives? Do you have anything that you want us to look out for? how can we stay in contact? You can shout out your girlfriend, my beautiful friend, Nikki. Is there any initiatives that she's in that we should look out for? Anything?
Um, I guess I could just probably use it. Like right now, I'm not involved in any initiatives
Mm-hmm.
because I am full time in school. Nikki's full time in school, and we're both full time dadding and momming. So,
Yes.
it's crazy. And like, there's a lot of like short term goals that I'm trying to reach, and like long term goals that I'm trying to reach. So right now, I'm really kind of focusing on that and getting to a certain point in my life, like I was saying earlier. But
Yes.
I could definitely use this time to plug. Yeah, so my girlfriend is currently, she just became a part of this initiative called Colors of Mama, and it's pretty much about colored mothers,
Mm-hmm.
and their experience being colored mothers,
Mm-hmm.
and she's taking an interim uh, presidential position there. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely check them out. They're called Colors of Mama on Instagram, Como,
Mm-hmm.
and to give them definitely check them out. Go and read Selena's new book. It's called.
Shout
I
out to people
completely
that
feel.
no, it's okay, it's okay. And then also, can people contact you if they want to get in like am
Oh,
I
most
able to
definitely.
give out your email? Because I
Yes,
definitely know there's gonna be some people who want to reach out to you and stuff like
yes.
that.
I'm
So
definitely open to having any kind of conversation, literally about anything. Um, oh, I'm also into crypto.
okay.
So if
Okay.
anybody
Okay. Go
anybody
ahead.
is into getting into cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, stuff like that, it's booming right now. Definitely a lot of like easy passive money that you can make on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently with a group called Crypto Lab.
Mm-hmm.
You could follow them on Instagram, Crypto Lab,
Mm-hmm.
or their website is
Mm-hmm.
cryptolabteachable.com, I believe. So you could definitely look them up. I think they're $45 a month to be in the private members group. Definitely some good money in there. They can
Okay.
teach you how to invest and stuff like that. But yeah, my email is
I can put
Stefan.
it in the oh,
Okay,
I can put it in the
yeah,
description. I'll put it in the
okay, yeah, big
description. So,
description.
so those who are listening, you guys can go ahead and look on your screens, and they'll be right there. And those who are watching, y'all can click the down bar and see it. Yeah. So that's it for the podcast. Do you have any last words? We already said like how we can find you, but is there anything else you want to leave the Therapy of Laughter podcast with? Also, this is not going to be your last time on here, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anything you want to leave
Uh,
them with for now?
um, just like Eileen has been telling y'all, like laughter is very cheap therapy and it is amazing. Like, I can't stress that enough. Like, stress is a big killer. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally, it is a
Mm-hmm.
killer. It's a killer of your progress. It's a killer of your mood. It's a killer of your goals. It's a killer of like of
Mm-hmm.
you,
Mm-hmm.
physically, mentally,
For real.
emotionally, and anything like that. So anytime that you can take a break, watch some comedy, bust a laugh, call up your mom, and hey, remember that funny moment when you were 6 years old and some crazy
Yeah.
stuff happened, or whatever, and
Yeah.
pick it up. And man, like laughter for me, like it's a big, 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 big deal.
Yes.
Comedy for me is a big deal. I love to make people laugh, and I love laughing. Like oh man, like I actually like love
It's
to laugh. Like
essential. It's essential.
yo, and it's definitely something that's got me through
Yeah.
many things. Like man, like there's times where I've been in some crazy, crazy moments, and I was like literally bursted out laughing. You,
Yeah.
you just have
You
to,
have
like
nothing else to do but laugh. Like,
yeah, you just have to, and like it definitely makes that load a lot less heavy.
yeah,
So,
definitely laughing in the face of adversity can change how you think about that situation, which can, an event or in the end, change that situation in itself. And like I always say, therapy ain't cheap. It isn't. I've spent
mm-hmm.
$1,500 on it last year. I'm going to get my refund just now. It worked, but I'm going to file
Yeah,
for insurance to get my local reimbursement because Canada needs to make sure that they pay for those things. Anyways,
yeah.
but
Oh, it's
therapy ain't
true.
no, they need to. And listen,
Mm-hmm.
guys, if you go to school, if you're in school, if you're working, if you're a full-time worker,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you get your therapy covered.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys need more questions about that, definitely email me or DM me. I can help you with that. File for reimbursement of it, because that is a
Yep.
part of healthcare. Your mind is a
Mm-hmm.
part of your body, and that's a part of your healthcare. So yeah, therapy ain't cheap, but laughing sure is. Okay, guys. So I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. This has been great. And like I said, this will not be the last time you hear or see my brother Spence. Okay, guys. See y'all next week.